Welcome back to my channel, y'all. This is Lance of BH Capital Enterprises, where I teach Black people how to navigate the markets, mainly the stock market, using price action. Most of my teaching centers on price action as it relates to charts. Hence why I do a lot of examples of what I call market markups. So in this one, I'm going to be looking at General Electric, and shout out to the brother over at Bro Capital. He requested that I check out GE for him, so that's what I'm doing. If you have not already done so, please subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell, share with a friend or family member or whatever, and I'd greatly appreciate it. And of course, moving forward, if you'd like for me to check out any tickers on your behalf, I'd be happy to do that. Just hit my inbox, email me, Lance at bhcapitalenterprises.com. If you're connected to me on social media, shoot me a private message, or just, it doesn't have to be a private message. Leave it in the comments, whatever you feel compelled to do. But let's jump into GE. So starting off with the yearly chart here. And the first thing that I noticed is that GE is doing what appears to be a reverse split, or a forward split, I mean. So they're multiplying their shares outstanding by, or actually reducing their shares outstanding by 8, which will boost their share price 8 times. So we'll see how this price behaves over the next several weeks leading into that date. So yeah, first thing I'm noticing is that last year showed some indecision, and so far the price has been hanging out or holding above last year's closing price. So like I normally do, I'm going to do a price level for last year's closing price, which also happens to line up with close to 2019's close. So we'll put that price level here. Let me see what the 10.8 or open, I mean. So we'll put it at last year's open, which was 11.3. Not 11.3, I'm sorry. 11.23. Okay. 3. Alright, so 2020 open. I'm gonna make that white. Boom. Okay. Oh, did it again. I want to show it on the right. Okay. Alright, so we got that going. Let me go back to my trend line here. Over time, definitely noticing lower highs here. Let's see. Certainly lower highs for sure. So really, with 8-1, and so my guess is that maybe GE's share price is going to be suppressed a little bit, maybe, and then it'll do its thing after the split. But all these things are going to adjust. The charts are going to adjust post split. So I'm going to leave my drawings up, but this area here is historically an area of resistance on the yearly chart, and you can see so far this year the price is getting pretty close to that lower trend line, which is right around the mid $15 area. So low to mid $15 area for this one. So I'd be watching out for that, really over the course of the next several weeks up until this split happens. But Yeah, so that's those are some of the main things that I'm seeing right now on GE's yearly chart. And so far, seeing lower highs, sorry, higher lows and higher highs when comparing 2020 and this year so far. So, maybe GE kind of found a bottom down here in the mid $7 range. You can see that here it broke out here, way back when in the 90s, and didn't retest that area until 2009 and had a nice bounce upward. And then it retested it again in 2018, and it's just kind of skated along that area. So I think I will place a price level around this area as well. Oh, actually, I need to do a price level, change my little tool there. And we'll just call this one the historical bottom. Make sure I do my show on the right. Change this to white. Double the width. And boom, there we go. All right, so got our historical bottom and we got the 2020 open. Um, and this area here lines up with the lower trend line here, so I don't necessarily need to put another trend line on here to kind of sully my chart. So I'm gonna stop here with the yearly chart and get my screenshot, and then I'm gonna move on to the next chart, being the monthly chart. Let's see. Well, I thought I was gonna stop. Let's see. Just want to take a look at something right quick. This lower trend line area. Yeah. All right. All right, so let's move on to the monthly chart. See how that looks. Um, okay, actually, let's do the 20-year monthly. Okay. Whew. Okay, so you can, kind of clearly see those lower highs happening over time, but the difference is in this area, the price is kind of sideways here. So, maybe indeed, um, GE has found a bottom over here in this area. Touched that historical bottom back in November. Pretty much most of last year, it kind of skated along that historical bottom, and then had a nice move out of there, um, heading into the end of the year. Um, let's see, these are some old levels that I drew. So, okay, so it's kind of skating the top of this area here. As you can see, that bounce from here, it stopped here and pivoted the other way. And now it's kind of retesting this area. It kind of broke out above that area, and it's kind of retesting again. So I'm just going to activate this and just kind of spread it out a little bit. Okay. And I know that's probably not a perfectly straight line, but oh well, it's okay for now. Okay, so this green area is just a level that I drew, a zone that I drew some time back. I don't even remember when. But basically, um, okay, so maybe back in 2020. Okay. So yeah, it indicated an area of demand. And since I don't necessarily follow GE on a regular basis, I definitely missed uh, that 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 move. So I'm just going to delete that. All right. Uh, What am I seeing here on the monthly chart? Nothing really. This could be an inverse cup and handle maybe. From six to about about 6.5. Okay. So the split though is coming in August. Okay, so maybe just looking at the monthly chart, this is just a hypothesis. Maybe I don't know. I've never really watched the share price of a stock when they're doing uh, a split the other way. So um, a reverse split or whatever. Um, yeah, so I would think that it would behave in the opposite way that a forward split would, where a forward split tends to be bullish, and the markets, people lots of volume piles into a stock. So in this instance, I would think that maybe it would behave the opposite way, but I could be completely wrong. I'm just gonna watch the price action. So to the bearish side, I'd watch to see if the price kind of comes back down toward the 2020 open and maybe even lower, uh, slightly below 10, and see if maybe there's some opportunity there. On the flip side, I would, if this thing becomes bullish, um, for me, a decent entry would probably be around somewhere above 14, and maybe look for that price to go to 18 at the most. But I mean, again, I could be wrong, and this is just based on the monthly chart here. Um, I'm just gonna do a little price level here, just as a little reminder that there's a potential inverse cup and handle here, so I can monthly. Okay, we're gonna show this on the right. Okay, so inverse cup and handle on the monthly there. Got my price target right around $18. Um, and I'm just going to move on to the weekly chart to see if I can get some more insight. But so over the past few months, GE's been pretty range bound. So nothing that I'm not seeing anything right now that's making me say, oh, let me go ahead and jump on this thing. Of course, this is not any type of investment advice or anything like that. I don't own any shares of GE right now. Um, this is just something that I do because I really enjoy it. And I also want to get better at uh, interpreting charts. So the best way to get better is to practice and to continue to learn. So um, let's move on to the weekly chart and see what we see here. I mean, here on the monthly, it looks like it's kind of doing a transition through the market cycle, and maybe it's in consolidation phase after phase two markup here. So some distribution here. So just be on the lookout for that. But I would look to see if that price breaks about 12.75 to the downside. All right, let's check out the weekly chart. Okay, so the weekly chart, you get a better sense for that consolidation that I talked about over the past several months of this year. Um, let's see, we've got still a trend line here. Okay, so as far as the weekly chart is concerned, this would be an area that I'd be looking at. Whether the price can break out above this trend line. And it could simply, just consolidate right past here. So we'll see something in the next couple of weeks, at most, whether it be the price continues to break out, um, or the price continues in a bullish manner, or if it just continues to be range bound. Um, but yeah, um, weekly chart. Got a couple of gaps down here. Well, you got one gap here. So right here between, no, it's just a few cents. It's not a very wide gap, but let's just we'll do a rectangle anyway. And we'll make note that this is a gap on the weekly chart. I think this would be a bit of a like a worst case scenario type situation. And what I mean by that is, I don't necessarily anticipate the price dropping down here. I mean, it could, I definitely wouldn't rule it out, but not before it drops below, these levels first. So let's see here. Okay. Okay, so we'll just call that gap weekly. Edit properties. I want it to be white so I can see it clearly, more clearly anyway. Make it a little bigger. Let's make it a little bigger than that. And I don't need a arrow, so I'm going to turn it off. Hit OK. And I'm just going to move this a little bit. There we go. All right, so gap on the weekly chart. I have that. So basically, a bearish case scenario, headed into the split in a few weeks. I'd watch for the price to drop below this trend line here, which is around 1275, and then look for that 2020 open level. If that 2020 open level breaks, then the price is going, in my opinion, it's going to go to 10, maybe even a little lower than 10, and possibly down to the low 8s. If that breaks, then it's definitely going to this historical bottom, but ideally, if I were to scoop up shares, I'd want it down here, heading into this split. But this is a situation where I probably wouldn't buy shares before the split, simply because you lose your number of shares is going to be reduced by 8. So never mind on buying shares, but maybe there will be some put opportunity, uh, some opportunities on the option side, whereas you can buy puts uh, heading into the split, and that's only if the narrative around this reverse split is bearish. So just watch these price levels is what I would do, or what I'll be doing is just watching these price levels, and building a plan around that. And not necessarily building a plan around what I think will happen based on whatever narrative. So yeah, that's pretty much it. When I'm as it relates to the weekly chart. So I'm gonna move on to the daily chart, and my chart is starting to look a little messier than I like it to be. Okay, so here you can see this trend line that I drew on the weekly chart. I'm actually gonna make it look a little better here on this daily time frame, so we can see, better see where that breakout happened. Okay, so um, here just a few days ago, it had a strong breakout above this trend line. So maybe sentiment is changing a bit. Maybe it's entering phase two of the market cycle, in which case it's bullish. But for me, I would much rather this. I would much rather the share price break out above this high 13s area. As you can see, it tends to be very range bound here. So really, for me, I would say at least like this 370s area, honestly. And I'd actually take it up a little further to about 1380s. Okay, so let me do my price, not my price level, but my, make sure my line is perfectly straight. There we go. All right, so if I were, considering shares just to play, just if I get a sense for some bullish sentiment heading into the split, um, I would probably look for an entry not until it gets above this green line. Um, a lot of times when you get a downward trend line break, the price will consolidate a little bit. But sometimes it'll, just run straight up. But, we'll see what happens. We had a nice strong bullish candle here, and then two candles where it's just kind of hanging out, still hanging out in this area. So overall sentiment hasn't really changed. This was just kind of like an outlier, sort of same thing that happened over here. But I think it would be safest to, wait to see if the price can get above here before I would, make any kind of move to the bullish side. And of course, if it fails, if it rejects here, it could, hang out above here or in this area still. But again, this 1275 area is definitely key as well. So that's what I'd be watching for. And then the overall structure of this chart, you got phase one here, phase two overall here, and then it's in overall here, it's in phase three of the market cycle. So, at this point, we either watching for a breakdown, a breakout, um, or, just continue consolidation. It could just consolidate up until August 2nd. So we'll just see. What happens um, over the next four or so weeks. Um, let's see where the moving averages are currently. Okay, so the price is hanging out right at that 50-day moving average, and then that 2020 open level is right down at the 200-day moving average. So two definitely some key areas that were identified, that I keep a mental note of. So um, yeah, so with GE, like I said, with them doing a 1-for-8 split, if you're thinking about buying shares, of course, this isn't investment advice, but for me, if if I were considering shares, which at one point I was, I definitely would hold off until after the split, because even though you're spending the same amount of money, you'll get less shares. And who wants to have less shares? I don't want to have less shares. So yeah, uh, if you were to buy like 100 shares of GE after the split, you'd have like 12 and a half or something like that. So no, I definitely don't want to even entertain that thought at this time. But yeah, just to recap, uh, To the bearish side, what I'd be watching for is a rejection at that high 13s to $14 area. See if the price will fall below this 50-day moving average and maybe even down below 13 and 12.75. At which point, if I were considering options, I would probably grab some puts and see if that price goes down to the 200-day moving average. But basically look for a phase 4 markdown at that point, and I'm actually going to um, make a note of that so that it will be here on the chart. All right, so phase 4 markdown area, basically below 12.75 in my opinion. Okay, we're gonna do white, bold this, make this a little bit bigger. Take that arrow off, and there we go. I'm just gonna move this up here a little bit. All right, so phase 4 markdown area, basically below this white trend line. And then to the bullish side, for me, if I were going to do calls, I would not do calls until I see the price clear this area, or the price comes down here to this 12.75 and fails to break down below that. Then possibly I'd buy calls here and ride it up to the high 13s to $14 area. But yeah, just to reiterate my opinion, I wouldn't, grab calls if the price does not rise above that $14 area or $13.80 to $14 area. So yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to GE. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, if you have any requests that you'd like for me to check out, I'm happy to do so. Just leave me a ticker in the comments, and I'll definitely check them out. If you have some crypto tickers that you want me to check out, happy to do that as well. Um, Catch you in the next video. I'll be talking about Northrop Gunman or NOK, whatever ticker that is. So catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.